Good afternoon. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you set up on what's happening around the business world after the weekend. Of course, we're going to look at the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, plus the local and national stories that you need to know and get updated on, as well as government shutdown kind of slows everything down here, but we do have a little bit on tap, including an update on that here coming up, the government shutdown. Especially after the war of words, right, over Sunday and the Sunday political talk shows. Well, let's get it started with that market watch. And, like I said last week, markets are kind of just like, what government shutdown out there? NASDAQ had some positive news today we're going to talk about, but Dow Jones is the one down today. It's down to 45 points right now, 46,726 for it. S&P 500's up 31 points to 6746. The NASDAQ, as I said, up 163 points up. A lot of that has to do with AMD. We'll talk about that in stocks we're paying attention to here in just a little bit. But it's up 163 points right now to 22,944. The small cap index at Russell 2K, it's 13 points up to 2474. And then you've got Bitcoin. 1,717 points up as of right now. And look at that, folks. It is up. I saw it on Saturday night. I was at a UFC event and just happened to see it come across there. 125,000 hit that Saturday night. Still in that range, 125,227 as of right now for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin having a lot of success here on the market here in the last week. Remember, last weekend it was 109,000 is where it was trading at. Coming into the show here on Monday. Now, stocks we're paying attention to. First one, Verizon Communication. Some big news for them today, and, market isn't necessarily liking it too much. 5.07% down here for Verizon today. Their CEO, Hans Velsberg, he actually stepped down from Verizon, is replaced by independent lead director and former PayPal CEO, Dan Schulman. Well, how would you like that, right? You get your new company, you get your new post with the company, you get promoted to CEO, and the market doesn't like it so much so that they're down 5.05% here today based off of the news of you being hired. That's just an ego check galore, right, going into this Monday morning. Then you got Starbucks also down today, 4.29% for it. A late September series of North American store closures. And, of course, all the late September layoff announcements Starbucks said they were going to do. Well, they are all behind this sell-off here today, 4.28%. Of course, all of this is that Project Bloom turnaround that the new CEO is employing. And all of that news today, at least, is a sell-off here for Starbucks, 4.26%. And then let's look at a company called Critical Metals, right? MP Materials is one that the mine up there in Nevada as well, the Lithium Americas company, all getting equity stakes from the federal government. Well, Critical Material Corp is up. Look at this, 50.63% here today. It was up over 90% at one time earlier in trading. I know, all of that movement, and it's still only at $12.03, folks, right? But they're up because Reuters reported that Critical Materials has discussed the Trump administration taking on an equity stake of that company. Critical Materials is developing a rare earths project up in Greenland, of all places. A senior Trump administration official, though, did respond to Reuters and say that, quote, there's absolutely nothing close with this company at this time, unquote. But just the Reuters report saying they're in talks with the Trump administration. Huge uptick here today for Critical Materials Corp here today. And you're going to see that kind of run up here as those rare earth materials are the focus of the Trump administration and what they're focusing on as well. And later on when we come back and look at the market today and the stocks we're paying attention to, we're going to look at some big ones. Comerica, Fifth Third Bank Corp, two regional banks in the headlines today. We'll fill you in on what's happening with them. Boeing today is in the news as well. And then AMD, we just told you, that AMD is driving that NASDAQ up. So we'll tell you why with the stock coming up here for them as well. But first, let's get into the updates after the weekend. If you had a busy weekend, you weren't able to keep up on what's happening around the government shutdown. Well, I got you right now. And lawmakers, though, just not a lot of news on this. Lawmakers provided few public signs of anything meaningful happening here in terms of the negotiations, to kind of break what's the impasse here, right? The non talking. And there's no hopes here anytime soon of reopening of the federal government as of Monday morning here, right? We're in the sixth day here of the government shutdown. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, did say it is the Democrats who needed to, quote, stop the madness, is what he said yesterday in all of the press stuff. President Trump was asked Sunday night when federal workers would be fired, as he has threatened multiple times, lots of furloughing and layoffs with the government shutdown. Well, President Trump said, quote, it's taking place right now. It's all because of the Democrats, unquote. Of course, President Trump did decline an answer to a question about which agencies are subject to those federal cuts in terms of their employee side. The possibility of layoffs, is a very large one here with the Trump administration, and it's already a tense situation around Washington as well, as the lawmakers have struggled to find common ground and build mutual trust here in this negotiation. Leaders of both parties, well, they're betting that public sentiment has swung their way, which would put pressure on the other side to cave in this big negotiation. The House is not expected to be in session this week. They're focusing attention on the Senate to take the lead on any deal in the Republican-led Congress that'll come their way. Of course, the House passed that clean CR a couple weeks ago that the Senate rejected. So now the House is saying, Senate, it's your turn to tell us what you're bringing to us as well. But House lawmakers, of course, not being in session this week. Republican and Democrat leaders, though, have been holding almost daily briefings as they, of course, are framing their arguments here to the public, and they're seeking to shift blame for the shutdown that's happening. That's all that's happening right now, is both sides are blaming the other side and where we stand, and it's not going to change until somebody puts some pressure out there. So there's your government shutdown update. I guess non-update. Nothing's happening except for finger pointing. But let's talk a little bit about oil here, right? OPEC Plus alliance of oil exporting countries. These are the smaller group. It's not the whole group out there, but this does include Saudi Arabia, Russia, for instance, Iraq in this smaller group. Well, they came out after a virtual meeting they had yesterday, and they said they will raise oil production by 137,000 barrels. That's per day. And they're going to raise it up in November timeframe. It's the same amount that they announced they were going to do here in October over the last couple months. They've been raising it up. The group has been raising output slightly in a series of boosts all throughout 2025. Remember, they announced cuts back in 2023 and 2024. Well, why are they cutting now? Or are they gaining now, doing more output? Well, they said the move was due to a global economic outlook, a steady one, and current healthy market fundamentals is what they're saying, that why they can do more output. It's added the production adjustments may be paused or even reversed as market conditions obviously continue to evolve. They always put that little caveat into the whole battle there, but so they're continuing that increase production and keeping it steady here temporarily, right, for a month, and they can change it coming up in December, but let's see what that does with oil prices. As oil prices with these refineries in California, that latest one that caught on fire, oil prices and gasoline supposedly still going to be continued to rising, especially here in Maricopa County. And we've had this story several times before. I don't believe there were any Rite Aids here in Arizona, but for those of you that came from California, the West Coast here as well, and in other areas, Midwest, well, it's now official. And if there were some here in Arizona, well, there aren't anymore. Rite Aid has closed all of its locations after filing for bankruptcy twice in less than the 2 years. They did post a brief announcement on its website. Quote, all Rite Aid stores have now closed. We thank our loyal customers for their many years of support. And this is a company that's been around for a long time. The website offers former customers their pharmacy and immunization history, which is why I wanted to tell you about this. If you haven't transferred it out of Rite Aid, you need to get on that. They also do assistance with finding pharmacies that their prescriptions were transferred to if they're had prescriptions there and hadn't transferred them yet, where they went. So Rite Aid is, a drugstore chain like CVS and Walgreens, for instance. They operated in the U.S. for more than 60 years. So this isn't a small company. They did have multiple opportunities to merge with Walgreens and Albertsons. Walgreens was back in 2017, Albertsons in 2018. Rite Aid did reject both of them out there, and now look at them. They're going out of business. If you want to know how big Rite Aid was at one time in 1987, they were the largest drugstore chain in the U.S. They had more than 2,000 stores at that time, had chances to merge, rejected it. Now officially 100% closed out there for that company. And it'll be interesting to see if Walgreens or CVS kind of follow them, to be honest with you. All of those retail drugstores are kind of struggling over the last several years and everything. And will this is a California story, but will it kind of lead to Arizona and other parts of the country? And it has to do with, right, when you need a ride somewhere with Uber and Lyft out there, 800,000 drivers about for California. Well, in California, I should say, for Uber and Lyft. They'll soon be able to join a union and even bargain collectively for better wages and benefits. This is all because of a measure signed Friday by Governor Gavin Newsom of California. There's some caveats to why this was signed that I find fascinating. Maybe some of this will come Arizona's way, but supporters said the new law will open a path for the largest expansion of private sector collective bargaining rights in the state's history. That would be California's. The legislation is a significant compromise in the years-long battle between labor unions and, of course, those giant tech companies that have been able to keep unions out of those tech companies. California is the second state where Uber and Lyft drivers can unionize as independent contractors. Massachusetts was the last one there, and voters in Massachusetts passed the ballot referendum back in November allowing unionization. Drivers in Illinois and Minnesota, well, they're pushing for those similar rights. The new law is part of an agreement, and this is what fascinates me here. The law was signed, and it was all part of an agreement made in September. The agreement was between Governor Newsom, state lawmakers, and the Service Employees International Union were the big players in that. And even Uber and Lyft had a say at the table here with this agreement that allowed for this to be signed by the governor. Uber and Lyft, by allowing this to be signed and pushing for the unionization stuff, they had a say in the conversation, and Newsom also signed a measure supported by Uber and Lyft to significantly cut the company's insurance requirements for accidents caused by underinsured drivers at that time. So Uber and Lyft are going to save a lot of money in their insurance costs in California, but their give up here, they have to go and allow people to unionize as independent contractors. How much money is this going to save Lyft with the insurance premium decrease? Well, Lyft CEO came out and said in September, that the new insurance rates, they're expected to save just Lyft by itself $200 million, which could, of course, help reduce fares, from passengers. Uber and Lyft fares in California are consistently higher than other parts of the United States, and most of that is because of the insurance requirements that California makes them have. Uber has said that nearly 1/3 of every ride fare in the state of California actually goes toward paying for state-mandated insurance. The collective bargaining measure now allows rideshare workers in California to join a union while still being classified as an independent contractor. And then the gig companies like Uber and Lyft, they'll have to bargain in good faith to get deals out there. The new law doesn't apply, though, to drivers for delivery apps, things like DoorDash, places. And I don't know. I was trying to find out if Uber Eats is involved in this or not, but I know DoorDash is not, and those delivery driving sites are not part of it there. The interesting thing about this is Uber and Lyft allowed that law to be signed in and didn't fight it very much to get their costs down on the insurance side there in California. It's a little give or take. Now, what other states does that go to? Does that affect rideshare here in the Valley? Well, we'll have to stay aligned and look. And, we talked a lot about online holiday spending. We've seen a lot of reports out that it's expected to be up this year, but not hugely up. Well, we got some more details on that. As, of course, we're here in October, and we're getting closer to that holiday shopping period. It is, like I said, the holiday spending is expected to jump. but it's only going to go up 5.3% year over year. And it's only going to be, folks, $253.4 billion. Yes, only. Well, it's all a downward spiral here, in terms of those numbers, because consumers are going to seek discounts this year, and they're going to enlist the help of artificial intelligence, and the chatbots there to find the better deals. This is all according to an Adobe Analytics report released earlier today. That growth is going to still be slower than a year ago, holiday season. Online sales rose 8.7% from November 1st to December 31st. Adobe's data tracks more than 1 trillion visits to U.S. retail websites, 100 million unique items in 18 different product categories. That growth is also below the 10-year average of roughly 13% annually. That mark was partially skewed by the 32% year-over-year growth in 2020. That, of course, when everybody went online during the COVID pandemic. So obviously that number got a little skewed. But so they're expecting it to be up this year, just not a huge growth level, only 5.3% here for that market. And people are going to be looking for deals. Are the retailers going to be able to give deals with tariff situations and, manufacturing issues and labor shortages? It's going to be an interesting holiday season coming up, no doubt about that. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, we keep this Monday show going. Thank you for joining us here live at 11 o'clock. Well, we'll get going here. We got some local stories coming your way. First one, Chino Valley, doing something I wish more cities would do up there in northern Arizona, and so much more. Come on back, folks. It's McCollum on Business. And we're back here at McCollum on Business. And woo-wee, after that Cardinals lost yesterday, the main event was lively this morning. Me and 17-year NFL veteran Dale Hellestray just wondering what the heck we saw yesterday there in that Cardinals loss. Of course, baseball playoffs. We touched on a little bit here. Arizona college football talk as well. And look, if you missed it live, 8 to 10 o'clock with your subscription here at Robat TV, well, it's on demand at Robat TV as well with your subscription. Or you can catch it, of course, on our YouTube page. Just do that search or hit us up on free podcast systems as well. All of them out there at the Main Event Pod on all of your favorite Podbean or podcast services out there, Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean, all of them have it there. Definitely give us a follow. Check it out. And like I said, if you want to watch it, hit it up on YouTube as well there for if you don't have the subscription of Robat TV. This show's live at 11 o'clock. Of course, and then we put it up on YouTube as well. No podcast on this show, but it is there on the YouTube channel as well for those of you that want to see what we do here on the business side and keep up to date as well with Robat TV. And then the Pit Stop, the Look Back show, elimination races for Xfinity and Cup Series. Well, they're over with. We have the next round going, some eliminations. Well, the Look Back show will be recorded tomorrow, up tomorrow afternoon. So look for that, of course, Robat TV. The YouTube channel, and of course, podcast systems as well. And then, if you've noticed it here at Robat TV, well, The Real Matrix, the first 3 episodes have been released. They are there for you to watch. The Angry Patriot gets you kind of open. He wants to open your mind here on what is happening out there in the real world. That programming interests you. Check out The Angry Patriot. His first couple episodes do have a guest on there. Dale Hellestray joins him. Up right now, of course, podcast version as well on Podbean right now. It's being spread out to all the other sites as we go, and coming to the YouTube channel as well, folks, there. But here at Robat TV, on demand, the real Matrix, up right now and on that free, on Podbean at least, for the free podcast system. And appreciate you guys joining us and all the programming we bring to you here. And we'll keep it rolling with that Market Watch. That nothing's really happening on the market. Government shutdown. Everybody's just cool. Well, Dow Jones is down here at 72 points. The only one faltering here today. The S&P 500 is up 30 points right now. The NASDAQ, well, being driven by AMD. We're going to tell you about that here in just a minute in stocks we're paying attention to. But NASDAQ is up the 180 points right now. And then the Russell 2K, small cap index, up the 13 points. And then you got Bitcoin. I remember last Monday, it was like 109, 110,000. 125,406 Bitcoin is trading at here today, here on the market for that cryptocurrency. And we'll have to keep seeing where it goes. Going to have a sell-off here at some point. Will there be a big volatile drop, or is this the new normal, the 125,000 up for Bitcoin? We'll have to keep our eyes on that and pay attention. Stocks we're paying attention to right now. Well, let's look at Comerica first, the regional bank there as well. It's up 14.30%. And, the other bank that's in the news with this, Comerica, Fifth Third Bancorp. We'll look at that stock as well here. We can throw that one up. But Comerica's up to 14% right now. Fifth Third Bancorp announced a $10.9 billion all-stock deal, well, to buy Comerica out there. So, obviously, 14.32% up for Comerica right now. For them, Third Bancorp, which actually was down about 1% earlier. I think we have that graph. If we do, throw it up. If not, it's down about 1%. Yep, still is 1% down here today. So Fifth Third Bancorp, $10.9 billion all-stock deal to buy Comerica out there announced today. Both regional banks, so some serious growth here for these regional banks here and on the stock market. Next stock we're going to look at, Boeing. Bloomberg is reporting that Boeing plans to accelerate its production of the 737 MAX jets that they have in production. Boeing could reach a 42 jet output per month for those 737 MAXs as soon as October. So right now, for Boeing, obviously good news because Boeing doesn't get paid until they finish the jets and ship them off. 1.46% is what Boeing is up today based on that accelerated 737 MAX jetliners going. And I believe the 737 MAX jets, I believe they're the number one selling jet there, Boeing. So upping that to 42 jet output is good news for Boeing in terms of its sales. And then AMD is the last stock we're going to look at today. A little bit of a bonus one for you. Advanced Micro Devices, 25.86% up here for AMD today. Yes, they have a deal reached with OpenAI, and Advanced Micro Devices are teaming up. They could see ChatGPT parent OpenAI take a 10% stake in AMD. So AMD up 25.66% based off of that 10% stake, possibly coming from OpenAI. Nothing official that I see there. I do see that a deal has been reached here between them as well, but it says, but the deal's been made to do it, but then it says it could see OpenAI take a 10% stake in AMD. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there. Well, the market doesn't care about that. Up huge. AMD is 25.78% here today based off of that news. And fascinating here with these companies buying into other companies to expand their growth and everything. And now let's talk about, speaking of, right, AMD, OpenAI, artificial intelligence, a lot of energy is needed at that point. If you drive around in the deserts around town, around Arizona, around the Phoenix area, you see all those solar farms out in the middle of the desert? Well, up north there, Chino Valley has become the latest Arizona community to adapt rules. Yes, they want to restrict renewable energy development when the town's council adopted a ban on new large-scale solar and wind projects within their areas. The Chino Valley Town Council voted unanimously at the end of September to adopt the ordinance. It still allows residents and businesses to install smaller-scale renewable energy on their properties for individual use. They're just restricting those high level, high end, multiple layers dotting the desert landscape. Solar energy stuff is what they're doing there. Solar industry officials obviously, aren't happy. Renewable energy advocates, yeah, they argue new large scale solar projects, well, they could be and should be a part of meeting demand, that Arizona has in terms of its energy. You know, we not only have a ton of sunlight, sunniest state in the country, but also a lot of data centers and large demand usage here as well. So all these new solar projects could help communities, according to those advocates out there. But the advocates are running into opposition from local groups. So one of them, for instance, showed up there in Chino Valley and this voting and everything, and showed up and don't want it. They just don't want large solar arrays, around the town and incorporated areas that and ruin the visual and the scenery out there. And so Chino Valley, latest one to not allow this stuff to happen up there as well. And and this has been happening a lot lately. If you go to the doctor, right, you need a procedure or something done. Well, your insurance company has been denying claims more and more. You hear a lot about this, from all of them, from Cigna all the way down. And when the insurance company denies the claim, the payment obviously is the responsibility of the individual to pay it at that point when the insurance doesn't want to pay it in your stead. Arizona has an average in network insurance denial rate of 21% in 2023. This is all according to Kaiser, who did all this research. The national average of denials is only 19%. So we are 2 percentage points in 2023 above that level for the denial of medical procedures. So recent initiatives have been out there. They're erasing medical debt for hundreds of thousands of Arizonans, right? The governor passed that bill, and a private company is kind of funding that. But the rising number of insurance denials obviously is having a negative effect on the getting rid of medical debt procedures and efforts that are out there. So, there's a new reimbursement policy going into effect that could also be having this problem of the denial side, from the insurance companies denying things. Well, Wednesday, Cigna Healthcare is changing that rule on reimbursements to people. So providers, this would be your doctors, rheumatology, X-rays, etc. You're basically the providers use Cigna to receive reimbursement for the medical service that they provide to the patients. Cigna's new policy is going to come out. Evaluation and management coding accuracy is what they're calling it. It restructures many insurance claims and potentially reimburses medical providers at a lower rate based on the complexity of the claim and the sufficiency of evidence to justify it. So not only are they denying claims more and more at the higher level, but they're also now changing things to make you justify it more. The doctors justify it as well. Denied medical coverage is obviously a huge issue in the medical field. It's been around forever. It's persistent. Insurers often blame improper coding, missing information, unmet criteria, or even absence of submitted claims on why they denied the claims from the doctors and everything. According to a big town hall that's happened around the state of Arizona, communication channels between providers and insurance, well, they can be clogged up. They can be difficult to do, or non-existent communication between the two, which then falls back on, yes, it's consumers and patients paying those bills. These struggles with insurance companies have caused a number, and this is what's fascinating fallout here. There's a number of cash pay clinics, and they're skyrocketing. They're opening left and right. These fast service medical providers, they don't accept any form of insurance. They instead rely on direct payment from the patient, which, of course, no insurance-related reimbursement issues or coding issues or denials. Recent trends have shown that patients are seeking out cash pay clinics. That's how I do my health insurance. I'm a cash pay only person when I go into doctors, etc. Don't want to mess around with any of that insurance stuff. And it's cheaper, by the way, with insurance rates today. Providers prefer this system for increased revenue and fewer administrative obstacles, obviously, if it's direct with the consumer. But Arizonans are going to continue to feel the strain of reduced availability of medical clinics that will work with your insurance because providers are just stopping to work with certain individuals or certain companies that are being difficult and denying a lot of claims and requiring a lot of work out there. So, not only is your insurance premium going to be up through the roof here this year, we've warned you about that here at McCollum on Business, and less stuff being covered. Well, now less doctors to choose from as well coming your way with this health insurance side of things. So, just want to give you a heads up on that issue that is out there. And now, best U.S. cities for working parents. Well, the 2025 survey is out. It's from Co-working Cafe, who comes out with this. And Co-working Cafe ranked Scottsdale at number 14 in the nation. Yes. Two other East Valley cities did come up, Chandler and Gilbert. They weren't ranked in the study, but they were mentioned together with Scottsdale. So what they do is they look at it as a mix of affordability, career flexibility, even quality of life, this study looks at. Scottsdale's advantage over its valley counterparts, well, its abundance of co-working and green spaces. Gilbert had the highest number of schools, and Chandler actually combined affordability with its proximity to major employers, that you can get to quickly. Affordability was measured by how much of a bite childcare cost takes out of your median household incomes. Well, in the three valley cities we just mentioned, the weekly costs were calculated at $230. That's about 10 to 13% of median household incomes in those three cities. Scottsdale was singled out for ranking second nationwide for its green space, 143 acres of organized parks and playgrounds per 1,000 residents. The report's authors there did write that such green space is vital because saving money on childcare doesn't mean much if the overall environment isn't supportive. They went on to say that Scottsdale's development recreation areas, well, it gives families room to breathe, play, and connect outdoors. Breaking down some other aspects of Scottsdale's ranking here, Co-working Cafe, again, survey is what they were doing there. They found that 83% of the jobs in Scottsdale were actually office jobs. 29% of workers were remote. Scottsdale ranked number 51 in education. Well, it was the lowest in the top 15 cities. It was the second most affordable for childcare costs. That came at 12.3% of the average family income up there for Scottsdale. So working families get some success there, not just Scottsdale, but also Gilbert. Chandler mentioned as well, even though they weren't on the rankings. And a follow-up here for you here, right? It's Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays. She's shown she's not afraid to jump on to other lawsuits and do that. Well, it's official. And she has joined into those other 5 states' attorneys generals and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and she's jumped on that lawsuit there against Zillow and Redfin. She jumped onto it on October 1st. This is that lawsuit we told you about here at McCollum on Business that alleges that Zillow and Redfin engaged in anti-competitive agreements. Remember, this is the one where Zillow paid Redfin $100 million in February to stop competition in the multifamily rental advertising market. $100 million Redfin's getting paid. And then they're just copying the Zillow listings on their website as well. Obviously, the state's attorneys generals and the FTCs, well, they claim the deal violates antitrust laws and will reduce competition and eliminate choices. And then they say, well, it's going to eventually lead to higher rental costs for consumers. But Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays hopping on that lawsuit as well, officially now moving forward. And finally, we'll leave you with a food story, right? We always do that kind of going into the lunch hour. And if you're watching the show on demand on the YouTube, of course, on Robat TV as well, well, hopefully it's around dinner time here because I'm excited about this. Arby's, they're known for, we got the meats. Well, they're dropping a new, easy-to-eat way to have steaks, folks, right? Well, they're debuting what they call their, quote, first-of-a-kind product, steak nuggets, offering customers convenience, a premium protein option, and a whole new way to nugget. It's all a news release that Arby's put out. They describe their new nuggets Arby's does as tender, juicy, hand-cut, bite-sized pizzas of steak seasoned with garlic and pepper for a bold, smoky flavor. I'm drooling now thinking about this. Arby's steak nuggets will be available 3 different ways. 3 ways, folks. Steak nuggets entree, 5 or 9 count, be served with hickory barbecue sauce. Steak nugget sandwich, that'll include steak nuggets with Havarti cheese, crispy onions, tangy pickles, and mayo on a toasted bun. You also get the option of steak nugget bowls. They include steak nuggets on top of creamy white cheddar mac and cheese with a sprinkling of crispy onions. Take the onions off of that. That sounds delicious. Let's get on that there. Excuse me while I drool on camera as well as, with this choice. Arby's latest products will be available at Arby's restaurants nationwide for a limited time today, folks, October 6th. They are available Monday today. I'd have to hit up an Arby's later and check that out to see as well. So they look good. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a fan of Arby's. I can't have it too often because I love it too much, and eat too much of it, it's not good for you. But, man, that steak option looks really appetizing and good. So there you go. Lunchtime. It's available today nationwide, supposedly. Check it out. Let me know what you think of them. I'm going to have to go get an order of that steak and mac and cheese. See how that combination works here as we go forward. And I appreciate you joining me here for this Monday edition of McCollum on Business. We'll be back, of course, Tuesday, 11 o'clock live. Check us out, YouTube. We're on demand here at Robat TV as well. Ooh-wee. Main event tomorrow morning, 8 to 10, of course. The Real Matrix. First 3 episodes out as well on Robat TV. You'll see them up there. Of course, a podcast system for those of you that would rather listen to it to that perspective as well. And we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great Monday night.